Okay guys, so welcome to the channel. It's going to be the first video of many, hopefully. I'm going to be covering all sorts of competitive play, so we'll go through deck building, go through general TCG theory, we'll do rundowns of my tournament matches, and loads more. So today we're just going to be doing a breakdown of my DAO Tournament Finals. So Paragon Daos is my bond that I play for, and every month they're running a tournament with some really top players in there. And I was lucky to place first in it on the weekend just gone. So we're going to run through it. I've done it on Twitch live, so you might see me chatting with the chat a little bit. But yeah, hopefully there's plenty of tips and tricks you can pick up on there. And yeah, enjoy. So for this tourney, I went with Catherine, Sippy, and Brand. But it was a closed deck list, so honestly, you could have brought anything. And people didn't know what your free decks were either that you were bringing. You didn't have to like announce it beforehand. So you just queued up with whatever you wanted to play, and then they done the same. So there wasn't an awful lot of strategy with it. You basically just had to run ladder decks, right? Because it was just a case of you could have got matched into anything as long as you had some tech cards for each. You're pretty good to go. So this was the first match, and I queued. I got quite lucky. I queued Kathy into his Sippy.
You tell me if I'm wrong here. I believe Kathy needs a good opening because the longer the game goes, the more Skippy is going to be favored, right? If they have more refill, they can fill the board over and over, whereas Kathy has that more front-loaded damage, right?
Correct.
So in this matchup, I'll be honest, I don't think I ever want to go first anymore. I would rather go second in nearly every single matchup. And to be honest with you, even in this one, I'd still prefer going second.
Because then, yeah, it will just get overrun by CP and its threats.
This quality looks a bit janky. 1080p. Yeah, it's not a great quality, but we'll make do with what we got.
Opening.
So I had a really good opening hand.
The two Bannermans, the PSA.
You could argue to bank a slinger here, but my line of thinking, guys, was
I think
my line of thinking, right, is if he plays a 2-1 here, I could just slinger. If he plays the 2-2, I can obviously Bannerman PSA. So I kept this as for flexibility because like next turn, if he played the 2-1, I could go 1 into 1. Or if he plays a striker, which we see he does, I can go Bannerman into PSA.
To fill up his first 2 turns, this looks like both players got a strong start.
And look at this.
So that's why I got rid of the trigger happy there.
She can do to clear any threats that arises from CPUs here. He really wants.
But it just keeps me flexible, right? I can go 1+1 into his 2-1, or I can go Bannerman to PSA into the striker.
Cards are in Japanese, if I'm not mistaken, and then Diesel's in English. Like, it's cool how you get to see both languages, not to get distracted.
Yeah, he was asking me like, can I play in Japanese? And I go, for sure, man.
It looks so cool. I love that. Yeah, this is a.
So here we go. Though. So he plays the striker, and now I can bank my slinger, and I can play the Bannerman into PSA.
Diesel didn't play his 1 health unit, so now this gunslinger doesn't look that nice. The PSA it's more what he needs.
Yeah, this double buff on the Bannerman really sets things going.
I believe I'm running. I don't think I was running Glaive in this build, so this Machinist was always going to draw me a 0 cost.
Diesel's going first, only has that Machinist, which is good, and then gets the Kathy's Rallying Cry.
Perfect draw.
Keep cooking, yeah. Good draw for
Yeah,
him.
so I got quite lucky here by drawing the Rallying Cry. Otherwise, my turn might have been a bit janky next turn, but it wasn't too bad.
That draw, like Machinist and then Rallying Cry is like Diesel's getting such nice draws. Because the thing with this opening draw is like it's super good, but if you get awkward draws the next couple cards,
so here I think you always bank the snitching, right? Because I'm going to get a buff off the Bannerman this turn anyway from the Rallying Cry.
That would be crazy. Imagine double slinger. It's super unlikely because he already had 1.
Oh, I know why I've done this, right? So this is quite an interesting spot. I did this because I was almost certain that I was probably going to end up having to play Kathy next turn. So I can double buff the Bannermans with Cry here. And then next turn I can play my Kathy and a Snitching and buff them again. So that was my line of thought on that. So yeah. Like if I didn't draw another free drop this next turn, then I wouldn't have been able to play the Machinist anyway. So at least with the snitching, it means I can go snitching Cathy and then rebuild it that way.
Yeah. Too much tempo to handle. And then he has a Cathy turn possibly just to keep the resources. Gets
So
the
this
Bloodhound
was
transfer,
actually
which is great here. He can...
quite interesting, right? So I was testing out second wave soldiers for this tourney, and I tried it a little bit on ladder as well, and you'll be amazed at how many times this happens. So I completely cut second wave soldiers from my builds now, because you always end up with this awkward swap. Because what I'd like to do here, is go second wave soldier and then Bloodhound to trade off one of these, and then I can keep one of these really healthy. Then only, obviously, Minor can just kill the one that's lower if you had it, but I kind of didn't want to have to do this, but because I was so low on cards, I valued the card draw more, so I played the Bloodhound first, and then the second wave to get another 3/3, and I had to just take this double trade. And it actually punished me, and you'll see in a minute, so I think you maybe could have argued to go 2-1 here.
Also wanted to play it in second to activate his muster.
I think he needs to draw more. I'm guessing he goes for the draw. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like, what's the chance of him having Subjugate double Rasa in hand, right? It was kind of the only punish to this play.
Correct. And gets another Cathy.
So you see, I have to do this double trade.
My man Diesel here is cooking.
Blessed. I've never seen Diesel get such a good draw in his life, man. This is amazing to watch. Poor Jizo, though.
And then this punishes me this turn because he plays the Subjugate double Tabula, and he kills one of my Bannermans, which becomes really awkward now.
The thing is that we know that Cathari doesn't run any whiteboard removal. If this was a board, like if Diesel was playing Cathari and it was the other way around, we know that.
Also, something interesting to note, right? So, by me banking that Machinist the turn before, I was forcing myself into this Cathy this turn. It gave me no other option to do anything else. Whereas, if I had kept that Machinist here, I could have had, on turn 4, I could have had Rallying Cry into Machinist, which would have been far better than me playing Cathy. But, obviously, I don't know what I'm going to draw. And to be fair, that I'm in this build, because I was running second wave soldiers, I'm not running researchers. So I knew my only free drops were Rallying Cries, because I'm not running VRAVs either or any other free drops. So I knew that the likelihood of me drawing a free drop to pair with that Machinist like this turn was really low, because I've already played a Rallying Cry, right? And I was more likely to draw like one of the 3 Triumphs for 5 mana or a Wong than I am to be drawing this.
Jisoo might have an out, but here it's kind of complicated to actually.
Which is why I kind of forced myself into the Cathy play, because I was like, right, I can Cathy on 4, hopefully I'll draw a Triumph or something for 5.
Regain the tempo even.
He can kill one of the Bannermen, is what I'm noticing. He can at least double buff his token, and then he can trade into one of these 3/2s, which is a start.
Yeah, but
so this kind of punished me quite hard.
The tokens are down at that point, and then he can play the Relic next turn potentially to buff them. So he's got some opportunity, but without a board clear, like you said, Marco would have Artillery Volley or send drill in. Cathari just doesn't have those things. It's really tough.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Jisoo is leaving his ATN Subjugate to die against a possible Bannerman. So
that's tough.
It's kind of complicated.
So now this becomes awkward, right? Because I cannot buff my Bannerman out of range.
Right? Because any other line would just mean doing nothing, basically.
Yep.
So he kind of has to sacrifice it, but it's painful. But he drew another Subjugate, so that could be really nice. And here comes the Rallying Cry. Dude, Diesel's still drawing good.
Yeah, definitely.
So I changed my mind in the end here, right? So I didn't need to play Cathy this turn. Cathy this turn actually may have been better than what I did, because what I could have done is double traded these, with the 2 3/3s. I could have snitched this and then gone for the trade with Cathy and hope for the 50-50. Worst case, if it doesn't, he's then forced to bump this into these anyway. and I would have had a Cathy left on board. But I decided to go wide here.
Going to more units, keeping the pressure.
And it kind of
here.
punished me because
It's
of
definitely
this.
a decent
Like,
play where it's
I had
can
such
go
low value
Pathfinder and
units
then
out of my
Bloodhound, just
cry.
keep on clearing stuff.
I'm pretty
He
sure
has
now
two-
you should just
has two
run 2
those
rallying
creatures
cries in your
his hand,
Cathy,
so,
and
like,
I
he
don't
feels
bother
there's
running
some
3.
shit
I think they're
potentially, and
crap.
then when the next one comes
Unless
around,
you're
he
running
just
lots of
silences,
2-drops,
he's got a
it,
lot of
it's not
options.
worth
It's
running.
just such a tough match for Jizo, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, this was the perfect situation here for Diesel. Getting those rallying cries in the mid game, still getting some resources from the Machinist.
So
the six.
here, right, I could have snitched this and just gone face. But if I do that and he has another subjugate, I would have been punished pretty hard. So I was planning on thinking, right, I'll use this either on a Praetor, because we're coming up onto turn 4, and I can silence it and I can push through the Praetor. Or if he plays another subjugate, I wanted to keep this in hand. So that's why I didn't snitch this turn. I just decided to trade it with the 3-3.
It's a nice addition that we see here for Cathy specifically to not run out of steam.
And I had to take that trade here, and I couldn't leave it alive because obviously if it busts itself out of range, then he gets a value trade. So I had to make the trade this turn.
Here, yeah,
Go ahead.
RNG. yeah. Using the no snitching here, I think would be a chance for Diesel to just keep hammering face before Cathari does something. But on the other hand, just dealing with these threats and keeping the board.
So, I don't know what you guys think here, right? Should I have just snitched that and sent it all face and pushed the would have been 8 damage? Or do you think I should have took that trade? Because thinking about it, right? If I snitch this here, I push 8 damage to face. He then has to trade anyway. So, like I say, the only punish to that line was if he played Praetor. I think it's correct to trade as well, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's correct to trade too.
Just as good.
I think this is better used
So
on
low
another
cards that I feel
subjugate or
playing no
Praetor.
snitching there is kind of an unnecessary risk, right? Then he might have a bad bank situation next turn, so he can give up that unit. He does have a clock though, because he's only done 4 damage to Jizo's face, and there is risk of Jizo just needs one good triumph, and he can be back in this. It's actually not as over as I felt like it was. Now I'm starting to see like, okay, Diesel isn't as high tempo. His tempo is good, but he's not really getting that burn damage to like make it last. So there's still a chance for Jizo to kind of correct this.
This is where it gets awkward, right? At this point, I knew I was running out of steam against Sippy because they got a relic down. My hand's not great, and none of my units are like scaled up enough to where I can just win the game. So at this point, I'm like, right, I just need to start pushing face damage now.
It's not as obvious, like,
right, this is the turn, okay? This is the turn which, like, I spoke to Lambie on this, and we went back and forth on it, and I still don't think we've come up with the correct play for it. So you guys can let me know what you think to do here, because this is a really awkward hand, right? My first instinct was to triumph, and I think that may have still been correct. Because I've got so much draw in this deck that I can probably get back round to a Cindy anyway. But my thinking was, and what I ended up doing is, we're close to 5 mana. So I was kind of thinking this is likely to be Triumph. Or he was going to draw one pretty soon, yeah. He's like nearly quarter of the way through his deck. See, Penzo, you've got exactly the same answer as what Lambie did. Play Cindy unit side. I didn't. So what I did was I 1-2 to the 1-1, yeah. 3-2 into the 2-3, and use Cindy into this. But so what I ended up doing here was you'll see in a sec, but I banked snitching and I played Cathy. 4-4 to the 2-4, yeah. And then the 3-2 into the 2-3. Problem is, all that leaves me with is a 4-4 on board rather than a 5-5. Yeah, I go 5-5 here. So I bump here, I bump here, I bump here, and I go 5-5 to face. And the reason I done it this way was, if he had Triumph, I knew that he wouldn't be able to buff everything out of range. So I could probably Cindy AoE volley next turn, send all my units to face, and I would probably get him down to like 12, 13 HP. And I'm running like 3 burn spells in this deck, so I thought it would get me close enough to lethal that way. But this is a really interesting spot, and I think it comes up a lot in Kathy, where you're stuck with a Cindy and Triumph in hand. Yo, Destroyer, how's it going, mate? We're just going through the tournament finals game I played for the PDAO tournament.
I guess he just triumphs and slams. Does he have any worry about like not getting to play Cindy? I mean, the problem with Cindy, he plays a 4-4. It might just kill your own units as well as hurting the others, the enemy.
I mean, that's fine. Usually, what you want to do.
So yeah, Penzo, Lamby said to do the same as you.
Is just exhaust my resources, and then
he said he would go Cindy face unit side, because you can guarantee 2 swings, whereas you might not be able to guarantee 2 swings with Kathy unit side.
For example,
which kind of makes sense, but then Cindy does chip away at your own board.
It looks like he's doing that. It looks like he's going to play Cindy and run into the 2-4 standard bearer, and then he'll have Triumph for next turn. I'm guessing he's about to bank no snitching. We'll see if that's the path he's taken here.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's going to Triumph now. Okay, I guess I believe he's triumphing now, then. Looks like I'm wrong.
And he had no slinger in waste, so I knew I was fairly safe to do this.
This is why Diesel's in the finals, and I'm just commentating. Yeah, it makes sense. 5 damage to face.
Yeah, yeah. And now more resources. Jiso against the ropes here.
And he top deck Triumph here. If he didn't top deck this Triumph, I think I'd just win easily, but he top decked the Triumph.
I mean, we see Diesel's hand, we know how good it is, which makes it tough, but Triumph at least gives Jizo some hope. There's still some play here. If he drew like a tabula or a 1-drop, I mean, he would be out of it probably. Depending on
Triumph is what you want to see in this situation for sure.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
Yeah. So many options here. The 1 cost will.
So he surprised me here, right? If I was him, I probably would have gone Subjugate. All the zeros and the 1s. And I would have just buffed the Subjugate out of range of everything. But instead he went wide.
Will be most likely able to deal with everything. He knows, Jason knows that there's possibly a removal coming, so he's not.
You're like the Master Sippy player, Penzo. Would you have done this? I think if I was him, he should have gone. He should have gone Subjugate, Recruiter, and gone wide with all the zeros, maybe, or.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would have been tempted in Jizo's place to go all in.
Yeah,
and I would
yeah. You would have had the same board, right? And you would have had a big Subjugate, which you couldn't trade into.
But instead, Jizo's thinking, okay, he can play it a little more, going for that draw.
Because doing it this way, he leaves everything within range of Cindy AoE nearly.
A lot of players would have been tempted just to slam all the 1-drops for that little extra width, but the draw seems like it's still such a good board, right?
Yeah, it's still such a good board, and it's not a clean kill for Sandrillion. So Kathy might not be able to attack face, and this is the place where
I get lucky again. Here I drew a slinger.
If he does the 1-1,
I'll be honest, I top decked really well this game, right? Because if I didn't draw the slinger here, I couldn't clear the board. But at least this way I can go 1-1 into 4-4, 4-1 into face, slinger into the 2-4, and then Cindy AoE.
On the board only, definitely. I mean, if the Bannerman needs to attack, it's not as clean as I would like. But now with the slinger, it's definitely cleaner. And the Kathy will be able.
Right, he's gonna use the slinger. I see. Okay, I'm a step behind. Gotcha.
And now the Kathy will be able to attack face.
And this was like perfect, right? Because now it's set up a nice clean Triumph for me the following turn.
In a top spot at 11 health. However, on Jesus' hand, we see a nice play coming.
So I think my play was better in the end. Playing the Kathy and not the Cindy unit side there. Because just imagine I played Cindy unit side there, Penzo, I die, right? Surely.
Like Diesel he's an amazing player, but in this case, he's just got Step on it.
So
Gotcha.
so imagine here, I have Cindy unit side, and I'm left with. Oh yeah. So I would have Cindy unit side here instead of Kathy. I die. Cindy would have to go into. Cindy unit side does nothing here, right? I go face, one of these dies. I mean, I would have to bump 4/4 into there. Cindy unit side into the 2/4 probably. And then what? I'd be left with a slinger and a cry and a triumph. So I'd have to bank triumph, bank cry, play slinger triumph, and I still don't think I get there. So I think playing Cindy was actually playing Catherine was actually the right call on that turn, because it set up exactly what I wanted to set up.
Coming up to replenish some resources that Ancient Subjugate and the Recruiter might be doing.
I think it was the only way I could do it. Like, that was the only way I win, I think, was playing Catherine that turn before.
How good Diesel's opening was going first, I'm impressed that Jizo is putting up a good fight. Like Diesel has.
Because then now I connect another 5 to face, and I run 2 DAs, 1 expertise. So I knew like him at 8 HP is just lethal from hand from so many things. There's a DA. Look.
Assault will be able to also cook here for Diesel.
So then now like my line now is I obviously just DA Triumph, and I just try and hope for an expertise off of Triumph and for lethal.
Where the Triumph of Mars is needed.
Right.
Jizo, on the other hand, can be able to survive if this Triumph of Mars doesn't do the job. But I'm not sure, since we have not seen the deck list. What does Diesel have in store if he has an Orbital Strike? For
so example, I think this game worked out perfectly for me, but I got very lucky with top decks, if I'm honest. But I think I played the hands as well as I could. I don't think I made any misplays really this game.
So he already has for sure 4 damage against Jizo, and if he has a third snitching,
so Slinger goes face, right?
Actually, well,
DA goes face, drops him down to 4, and then all I'm looking for is an expertise then off my Triumph.
Now he's got to think: does he want to send it all face, or is he going to try to clear anything? I'm guessing he's going all face.
He's going for it. He knows that there's something there.
There's also a way here where I clear the 2/2 and a 1/2, and I set up a 50-50 lethal with Kathy, right?
True. Even if he doesn't get it off Triumph, he's got 25% chance to win at the end of the turn, no matter what.
So this was a bit of a brick. Now this is an interesting spot here.
Increasing the odds here. It's all about the numbers at this stage.
I shouldn't have played Bloodhound here. Knowing that I have Poisoner in hand, I should have held the Bloodhound Transport, because I'm obviously going to PS8 the 2/2. Gives me a 33% chance of lethal just with Kathy anyway this turn. But if I had held the transport, like worst case, if Kathy bumps into this or bumps into this, I can at least clear the big subjugate next turn with Poisoner Transport. And it would have probably given me one more turn to find lethal.
Gets the Bloodhound.
So I don't think I should have played Transport here. That was a mistake.
Just determine assault away from lethal. Clears the Recruiter.
But that is another good point Quinto just made, is I'm running 2 DAs, right? So hitting face here with the 1/3 sets up another option for lethal. It sets me up with a DA lethal.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Cooks up.
Do you think there's ever a reason to bump that into this, Penzo? Or maybe rather than sending Slinger face, I could have slingered into this. I think I just pushed face, right? Because I could have gone Slinger into Subjugate just to set up the kill with that from Kathy, potentially. Yeah, you reckon bump the Slinger into the Subjugate so it sets up potential killing it. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, the reason I did that, I went Slinger into here, is because I run 2 DAs. I was like, right, I could probably just top deck a DA for my Triumph here. And I had no way to know. Yeah. But I had no way to know that I was going to draw this 1/3. Because if I didn't draw this 1-3, I then don't have lethal with DA. Also, another reason why I shouldn't have played this Bloodhound Transport here is I took away another potential lethal option, right? Because I could have gone Poisoner, this, Memento. That could have maybe given me a lethal
Diesel
option
needs to
because I
draw
could have bumped
one
in.
more burn card
Bumped
out of-
in.
at all. Jizo needs to fight back from 3 health versus 23. It's an uphill battle, but Magna's.
So I think either way, playing this, I don't think is correct.
Yeah, and this is where we see it. Like, this is a situation you want to be when playing Kathy. Like, you want to put your opponent in this scenario where it's like one card away.
So that was quite an
from
interesting
dealing
turn,
lethal
actually. I
damage,
could have played that a
because
few
you
different
know
ways.
that you're gonna run out of steam. Look at Diesel's hand right now. It's the Master Poisoner and Hearth that won't do anything against the threats coming up with Cathari.
You're going to love the last game, by the way, Penzo. The last game I played Sippy into his brand, and it was a really interesting match.
Like, Kathy's front-loaded as hell, and this is, you can see it. Like, Diesel's had such a good game, and he's still running out of gas, even after his best draw, because this deck just is not made to go long. I mean, Jizo's showing good mental game here. He's making good plays. He's looking for a way to build up this board enough. He can get enough damage to face with his units that he can just race his way there before Diesel draws burn, but also keeping Diesel under control on the board. It's a very difficult juggling act, and Jizo's putting up a good attempt here.
Yep. Just
So he's actually threatening
like,
lethal
I mean,
next
we
turn
know
now.
that these cards, these Kathy decks run Catherine's Expertise. We know that they run Orbital Strike possibly.
So I have to
He
top deck lethal
also
here.
has-
So I
what
think
else
sending that Slinger to face to
Kathy
putting down the
do here?
3
He
was
already
probably my
plays
best
in
way of
one,
winning because,
so that 3 damage,
like I say, now I've got
that,
2 outs rather than
instant
1.
damage is
Otherwise, my
awesome.
only other out, if he was still on
Actually,
4,
Diesel needs-
was
like, if he doesn't high roll here, he's dead.
Expertise,
Holy
which is a
war.
1 in 14. But I do have 1 to find it. I had Triumph to
And guess
find
who's
it, so
Expertise? No
yeah,
way.
I top decked it, but I had multiple outs there.
Let's go. What a
I could have
hero
won, I could have
by
triumphed.
Diesel. Oh my god.
So I had 3 and
The whole
14 cards to
game.
find the lethal option.
Every turn, man's high
Quite a
roll,
cool-
and
quite a
hey,
cool game,
shout out
though.
to Diesel.
Yeah. What an insane.
So that was 1-0 to me. And then this is the final map now.
That's gonna end up pretty funny.
I'll find it for you.
Chat.
So yeah, now going to game 2. I queued up Sippy and he queued up Brand, which I'm surprised he done. Maybe he thought I was going to play Brand, but if I was him, I maybe queue Neve to beat Sippy, or I queue Kathy and try and beat it that way. But he queued Brand, which isn't bad into Sippy, but I wouldn't say it's the best.
That's
the best.
Here. Like, we had so many good players in that bracket.
I'm not running any. I just ran my ladder list. I didn't run Disassembly Swarm in this Sippy list.
Bong Bong. That's Gavin?
Sorry, Bong Bong. I believe that's Gavin, yeah.
So yeah, we had Dual Note, who was another world champ, another one in the worlds.
Okay, so Mulligan in here, right? So I'm going second against Brand. Now, I could have kept this just to ensure I had a 1-drop. You don't necessarily need Recruiter if you're going second. It's not that important. Cunning Scipion obviously just dies to a Siphon. So what I was really looking for here was ideally a Striker and either a Relic or a Standard Bearer. Standard Bearer, in my opinion, is kind of the nuts in this matchup because outside of Snitching, which a lot of brands don't run, they have to Erasure it. Or they have to play Embedded Agent on 1, then turn 2, they can bump into it. Obviously, Embedded Agent on 1, turn 2, they siphon the 1-drop, so I can't trade it, and then they go bump into it with the Embedded Agent. So it's still a lot of resources that it takes for them to deal with a standard bearer. So I value standard bearers in this matchup like really, really high. Even more so if you don't get like the relic. So I just full mulliganed away this hand looking for either relic, standard bearer, or better one drop than Princept.
I think actually they turned off nickname changing. Now Gavin is stuck as Bong Bong.
Here we go. So now I've got striker, I've got bearer. Snitching is like clutch in this matchup, right? Because if they play a Singularity Steward on one, you can snitch it and you're in a really good spot. If they play a Bedded Agent on one, you can snitch it and you're in a really, really good spot. It then forces removal on this, and it gives them less chance of finding removal for this. So you could have argued to keep the Rasa here, because I could have gone Striker 1, Standard Bearer 2, Rasa on 3. But the reason I didn't is because I'm already likely going to be playing 3 out of my 5 cards in the first 2 turns of the game, which then leaves me really low on resources, right? So that's why I didn't do it.
So yeah.
I can never leave Paragons now.
So now I'm just looking for like a free drop or a relic still would be nice.
Let's go.
All right, so looking like a decent Skippy hand. Oh,
Yeah.
ooh, Brand with a double life siphon and the embedded agent. So this time Diesel's going second. Okay.
So he had a really
This
good
is kinda
hand as
like what I
well
was
here.
hoping for, right? They
Now,
both drew good hands. Diesel's still getting the night.
Jizo banks a siphon here, which I think is probably correct, because if I don't play Relic on 2, then he can then play his Researcher on 3 rather than the Sabo. So I think he made the right choice with that
good
bank.
in this matchup, but at least he has 1, 2, 3, 4, which is something to start with.
Yeah, correct. It's going with the embedded agent here just to cook anything,
So
but there's no sneak.
Here, this is quite an interesting spot. The bank, okay? Memento is useless in this matchup, to be honest, unless you get really, really wide. And I'm not going to be getting very wide with the hand I've got anytime soon. But I can't bank this on 1. Well, actually, do you know what? Maybe that is the bank, right? Because if I bank this on 1 now, so actually this was a misplay and I didn't see it at the time, but really I should bank Memento here and I play Striker, because that way it means that if he plays Void Trapper on 2, he doesn't get a free siphon. So this was a misplay. That should have been my bank turn 1. I think and another reason why I should have done that is I banked Reliant Gamma here. But I probably should have kept the Reliant Gamma, because if I draw another 1-drop, I can go obviously Striker this turn, then I can go double 1-drop next turn rather than playing the Standard Bearer. So I think I should have banked Memento here, to be honest, and then just played my single 1-drop, and because the token's not getting buffed anytime soon, right? I've not got a relic in hand. So I think the bank here is actually Memento.
Yeah, you think he definitely wants to use that no snitching here? He wouldn't like just play the 1-drop and let him trade in.
Yeah, Diesel going with the Reliant Gamma into the bank, which tends
So I
to,
think that's the wrong
like,
bank, to be honest. I definitely should have banked Memento here.
What I like to do against Brand.
The only upside to this, obviously, is if I draw Relic, because then I can buff up the 0-1, but I don't think it's worth it.
That makes it so that I'm so versatile against anything. I can play a bunch of, like, I can keep loading the board with units, and against a deck like Brand,
like I say, if he had a Void Trapper here, he could have free siphoned and then played Void Trapper, and I would have been in a lot of trouble.
It's good in this situation anyways. Being able to drop 2 tokens also, for example, after a possible ATM subject that we see here.
See, I didn't see it at the time, but I think Memento was definitely back. And you see now, look.
It's a good line too.
You see, I got punished, because if I had banked the Memento, I could have gone double 1 here rather than playing the Standard Bearer. Standard Bearer is still really good here, because he's going to be on 3 mana, so you'd be forced to erasure it. Which, if he does that, it then means I've got a Scipion on 4, which doesn't get erased likely, unless he gets Honest Steward.
On 3, Praetor on 4. If if Jizo has an erasure,
So
he's
I
likely
think
to use it on the subjugate, and then
the
prayer
Memento
can
Bank
live.
sort of
And
punished
if
me.
he does an erasure the subjugate, you might get the double buff.
Because we imagine now I would have had a Gamma on board,
Kind of in the middle, but
plus
it
another
forces
striker,
Jizo
and the
to
Gamma
use
would have been
removal on
scaling
turn
this
3
entire
before
time
you play that big
afterwards.
4-drop.
Yeah, but imagine having that reliant Gamma in this situation, being able to play both of them at this point. Definitely a standard bearer is okay.
Yeah, if he knew he was going to draw another 1-drop, he might have wanted to bank something else and play 2 1s on this turn, get wider, basically.
Yeah. So we probably see an 18 subjugate right away here.
The
and
Jizo
probably
actually has a
Jizo
really nice
doesn't have
hand, right?
removal in his hand, right? So,
He just needs to play on
Diesel
4.
doesn't really know this yet, but he's actually
But
pretty
if I had
safe.
played
Like,
Relic, he
Jizo
would have
doesn't
hard
a lot of
punished me.
counterplay options yet.
Yeah. And
Although
I wonder if we
Saboteur
will
is ready.
see.
Also, I think he made a
wonder if we
mistake
will
here.
see a
He revealed a
auto-kill
demo
on
to me.
that CPU's adjutant.
So something I want to point out to you guys, and you'll see me look straight away at what you've done. Whenever your opponent plays a researcher, please, please, please check their bank, because it gives you so much information. And later on in the game, this knowing that this was in the bank affected my entire decision making later on in the game. Because chances are brands only run 2, a lot of them only run 2 demos. Some run 3, but even if they run 3, you know that, right, if I get past 1, you know, they may still have 20 cards left in the deck, and the chance of them having the 3rd one is quite low. So make sure you're checking their bank when they reveal cards, because this affected my decision making the entire game.
It depends on the one he draws, because if he draws another standard bearer, I would go standard bearer into Valorous Striker, gets the
I drew the nuts here. I drew the best thing I could do,
and probably sacrifice the edge
because now it sets up perfect curve, right? So I sack in my adjutant. I then bank. Obviously, I got 4 and a 5, so I can play 1, 2 this turn. I have to bank the subjugate here, and it sets up a 4, 5. Yeah. So I bank the trade this in. Bank gives me a buffed adjutant, and then I can play my 1, 3.
Right away, get an insane board. Yeah, there he goes. Bank the ATN subjugate and go with the 2 units, and he has the perfect curve.
Morning, Bison.
This is gonna be
just going over the my finals game for the PDAO tourney, mate. This is the second match. I won the first one, and then this is the sort of second one.
You don't really need to get tall in this matchup because Brand has such good single target removal. You want to get wide, and the Skippy is perfect for that.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
this is the situation here.
This is a very simple thing, but I want to point this out to you because the casters would have done this wrong. They were questioning why I didn't bump this 1-3 into the 1-1 because it was snitched. Yeah, I won the tournament, Bison. So be honest with yourself, guys. How many of you here bump this 1-3 into the 1-1? Because I can guarantee like 60 to 70% of you make this trade, and it's wrong, right? The only way he kills this next turn is with Honor Steward or an Erasure. And if you knew that they were going to do that, maybe it's worth bumping this in, yeah? But then even way, you can just trade it in with a 2-5. So this is always going to be your Erasure and your Honor Steward target. So it's only 1 damage. I'm going to be pushing face here. But trust me, by the end of the game, 1 damage sets up so many different like breakpoints, obviously with dominant outs and things like that. So here, you never make this trade. Let him do it, right? He's got the perfect free attack to do it. So he's either going to double trade here or double trade here. And then one of these is getting Honor Steward or Erasure on 4. Yeah. So never make this trade. Don't need to. Push the 1 to face.
CPM Predator also falls into the board. He will... Jizo will be forced to use this Erasure and something else. So the Predator will fall perfectly into his board.
There instead of killing the little token.
I think he just wants some damage to the face, since he doesn't really mind. He knows that probably the math does the job once he drops the Drussian, and he wants to finish the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's in face mode, full aggro smork. He sees it. He sees the path, and the Triumph is such a nice draw for turn 6 as well. It's ridiculous.
And if he cleared the embedded agent, he would have died either way to the researcher.
Yeah, the researcher. Yeah. That 2 attack would have been enough if he used the. Plus, he doesn't want to lose the standard bearer. He doesn't want to take damage on that.
Yeah. So forcing Jisoo just to
So
do-
see,
do
now
it by
now he's
himself.
forced to do that
I
double
mean,
trade
Jisoo
himself
does
anyway,
it
right?
all the time, so why would he bother? It makes a lot of sense. Now, I mean, Jizo's got this Singularity Steward. He's got some chance to ramp
Okay,
up,
here.
but it's going to be hard.
Another interesting sort of spot. What would you guys bank here? If you were playing this match, right? So when I bank, I'm going to be on 4 mana. So the obvious play this turn is the Praetor, right? But what's the bank? You bank Europa, Enzo. I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that, Penzo. They all thought I should be banking the standard bearer here, but like I said earlier, in this matchup, I value the standard bearer so highly, especially when I'm not drawing relics, right? Because I need to get everything out of range of siphons and anything low health. So I value this really, really highly. So I bank the X-Rator here. I know I'm running 2 X-Rators, and I'm going to be on 5 mana anyway, and I'm still got three tabulas in my deck. So I think here keeping this is way more flexible, because if I draw another 3 drop, I can do 2+3 instead of the next turn, right? So I get what you could potentially bank the Europa this turn, because this isn't going to be getting traded in anyway, so I don't need to be creating the token. And you know, there's not an awful lot in my waste to be pulling from Triumph, but I valued this because as it stands, I have no way to refill the board, right? My Sippy's got no musters. I've not drew a Radiant Legion. And after I played this turn, how am I refilling the board if he somehow managed to clean up some of this? I think that's going to be my only way. So I bank the X-Rator here.
Up with Diesel's hand. Still, Wong, Triumph of the Lost. These are very strong cards in Jizo's hand. They're just a little more like setup cards where he might need a little more tempo.
So you always got to think like, what's my mana next turn? What's the most flexible option?
What Diesel plays.
You know, I've got 4 and 28 cards. Well, after the draws, 4 and 26 cards, which I could potentially draw to get the X-Rator back anyway.
And potentially that defender could help. I'm grasping at straws here, trying to.
Which isn't terrible
is he
odds.
banking X-Rator? Wait, what?
So.
So I have to make this trade, right? So I definitely can't bank Europa now. Because I have to make this trade, because I can't allow it to keep getting buffed up.
Because this makes it so, like if he banks it, then his tokens won't be able to do much, because they will be clean there. But as we know from the last match, Diesel is running
plus this way, now I get my 2 tokens rather than the 1, right?
And you can also use a tabula to copy it from the bank, so banking it's not always nearly as big a sacrifice as it could be in other decks.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And I drew the other X-Rator anyway.
I'm still surprised he banked it. I don't know. To me, it's like that standard bearer could be a bank. I guess Diesel's prioritizing having multiple different options, like that 2-drop can fit in the curve.
Also, I just want to point this out to you guys, right? Jizo has held this Saboteur from his first opening hand, which, when he's going first, has made his mulliganing decisions so hard throughout the entire game. So I'm not saying he's wrong to hold this, because I don't know how many Sabos he's running. I would assume 2. But that's why I value these so highly in this matchup, the standard bearer. In fact, I value them highly in most matchups, right? Because outside of Relic, it's the only way you're buffing all your units.
No risk of a dead turn.
And me not playing Relic is just bricked his hands. Now he's forced to bank the Sabo, look. Which means I'm safer to Relic later on in the game.
Drop the Wong here. Eclipse Fade is too costly.
Yeah, Drushin's insane, Bison. I think it was like probably the standout card from Worlds, in my opinion, because I think a lot of people forgot about it.
Praetor, but this Drushin that's coming next is gonna really kick things up, unless Diesel actually just wants to set up even more board. And
so he got quite lucky here with hitting the buff on the Researcher.
The buff on the Researcher to be able to clear the Praetor. Gets a big unit here, so Diesel will be forced to play that Triumph He's still far away from lethal, and he needs to develop more board. But now facing two big units, facing also a possible Honor Steward, and that Eclipse Fate if he goes with many copies of.
Right, so here, although I value
Wonder
this
if he's
these
just
standard
gonna
bearers
clear board
highly,
here.
I'm going to be coming
He's
up on
not
6
too much
mana
to his
next
waist
turn,
now.
right?
He can
I'm going to be coming up on 6 mana, and my play this turn, the only play I can make is to play the Excavator. So there's no point keeping me the standard bearer because I don't know what I'm going to draw. And next turn I can go Triumph into the Gamma, right? If I have to. And we know I've got a standard bearer in my waist.
He can do some trades first, of course, but it's
Sorry, Bison. Yeah, I've got to run ads, mate. It's the only way I can do it. You can always sub. You can always sub there.
Yeah, he's going for the control.
Okay.
All right, this is quite an interesting spot. How many of you would fuck up this trading? Also, I shouldn't be swearing because I'm going to post a YouTube video of this and it's probably going to demonetize me. But how many of you would not make the correct trades here, right? Because the casters thought you should be VTing, value trading into the 1. And then you would trade like either the 4/3 or the 2/2s into it. But that's wrong. Right? The correct way to trade this is you go 4/3 into the 5/4 and you go 2/2, you go 1/2/2 into here, swing, 2/2 into here. Because if I value trade here and I swing 4/3 into this here and I send the other's face, if he erasures or honor stewards this next turn, I'm left with nothing on board. These guys are now O1s, which do nothing, and this dies because it doesn't have the buff anymore. So the correct way to do this is swing all your... Yeah, you're wrong, Penzo. The reason you're wrong, Penzo, right, is if I do that, yeah, and he honor stewards this, everything dies. But if this dies next turn, Penzo, you're screwed. Because this dies. Yeah, I know you can sack it, right? But then this gets honored. Yeah. Right. But hear me out, Penzo. Yeah, it does. Well, no, it doesn't. But then I'm left with nothing on board, right? Like nothing. So what Penzo, because it's going to be on the YouTube channel, right, guys? What Penzo suggesting I do is I trade the 5/5 into the 5/4, so it puts it into my waist. Then he's saying 4/3 into the 4/4, and he's sending the 2/2s to face. Okay. If I do that, and we can see he's got Honor Steward in his hand, but he could easily have an erasure. If he Honor Stewards this Drusian, I'm left with just 2 O1s on the board, which with my hand I cannot do anything with, right? So the correct way to trade this, and I'm 100% right, is correct. I spoke to Lambie on this as well. Is your 4/3 goes into the 5/4, your 2/2s go into the 4/4, and your 5/5 goes face. Because then next turn, worst case, if he honor stewards this or erasures it, I'm still left with my Scipion on board at full HP. It'd be a 3/4.
Value trades, or is he going all face? He's going all face.
Having a 3/4 left on board rather than 2 O1s is far better.
Could have the Praetor kill the Wong, for example.
Would you rather have a 3/4 or a 0/4?
Okay, no,
A 2 O1s.
Yeah. I
feel like
mean,
he needs to be aggressive here. He can't be like just clearing the board, right? Like he has to get face damage now.
complicated situation. Like this is what I was figuring out. Like the
And you can see it took me a little...
being able to deal with any of the threats here, and now controlling the board. He's thinking like this is a complicated.
I kind of understand where you're
situation
coming from, Penzo.
Even if it has that.
But the problem
buff in
is,
hand,
I haven't seen Magna, I haven't
with
seen
the
Domino.
Gamma,
So if he honor stewards this
definitely it's a
3/4,
good spot. Either
how do I
way,
ever kill that
Well,
honor
face the
steward?
Praetor, he's gonna
I
get some
literally
damage
can't.
to face, but
At
he's
least
gonna
if I
get
leave
his
a
other
if
units.
if I leave a 3/5 on board, I only need to find a
Not
slinger
very wide
to
now,
deal
but he's got
with
two
the honor
decently
steward.
statted units, the Excavator with the buff, but this is the kind of board
So now
that
this is a
Shroud
much
can
better
start
board
to
to be
answer.
left with,
Shroud
right?
does have tools to deal with stuff like this.
yeah. And the Eclipse Fate will deal also with his Radiant Legion. Will be nice. He has counting. He's counting four clones he will get if he banks that Reliant Gamma. He gets 5 clones, but the Eclipse Fate will do the job in being able to contain some of the threats.
Yeah, I agree,
of
Penzo.
Diesel. So
I think he should have
interesting
branded here.
Scenario.
He
Put a
doesn't.
Stabilize Shard just to set it up so he can play Demok next turn if he draws it, because he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I think he should have
But
branded
he
here
has the
because he
chance
could
to
have
do it.
easily killed both of these units next
And
turn
that's
and
what
ended
Could
up
have
with
some
his
impact here, right? He can remove
4/4
the
tokens.
X-Raider, and then the Praetor goes down to 3/3.
He deserves to lose.
Who's casting Pinto? Just some dude named Flux. What's up, Puma?
So he played Shard here, which
Popping.
Like anything other than Honored Steward just feels
you need to
pretty
think
low
about,
tempo
guys.
this
Whenever
turn.
they
I don't know
do
if you can
this,
afford
they
to
play
have
Shard.
some tempo.
Check their
He
mana
could
instantly, because
strike
to
out
me,
Brand soon.
that tells me he's trying to set up
After
for a demo
he
next
doesn't have
turn,
it.
right?
Like, there's
He
a
can go on Scene Allies also to just set up a nice turn on the next one. On the next turn, he has 3 cards in the Singularity, not much, but overall he can play some stuff there, especially the Corrupted Vision. Yeah, he goes with the Unseen Allies, setting up a good turn next, and having the possibility to also play a Demok if things go out of hand.
those stats in the Singularity, brother. Oh man, that 11 attack on the token. Okay. I was underestimating the Singularity.
Yeah, Brand Unseen Allies for Brand is.
So just imagine here, Penzo, if I was left with just the 3/4 on board. I couldn't have traded this.
Key.
Now
It's
I
so
make a
good.
huge
It's
blunder
so
here.
good. It's
I played this
card's
so
crazy
wrong.
So
good.
actually, we
I'll
see
explain
here
to you
that
in a
Diesel
minute
can
why.
get a second X-Raider for a lot of damage. Wonder
Well,
what
yeah, with
he
that
will
tag,
go with.
just like we mentioned a few turns ago. That's the nice thing about if you have to bank it in Cathari, you can get it back. It's not a
Yeah.
muster.
And for Jisoo, the Trusty Build will also be able to do some damage here.
So
Be
I
able to
literally just told you guys
move
that
the
in my
Sharky
head I'm
units.
thinking he's setting up demo, but you can
So-
see I just checked his bank there, right? He's already banked 1. They normally only run 2 or 3. So this is, yeah, so you're kind of right, Penzo. I messed this up, and I'll tell you why.
It's interesting. He's going.
I knew he was trying to set up a
Hasn't
demo in my
done
head.
anything.
Even though he doesn't
He's
have
going
it, it's
Reliant
what I should be
Gamma,
playing around, okay?
And then play the Tavila.
What I do is I play Radiant
He doesn't
Legion,
know
which I
he's
think is
walking
fine to
into
do,
this
right?
Eclipse
Because I've
Fate.
still
I'm
got my
sure
Sippy Muster,
considering
which I
what
could
he's
set up the
thinking,
following
plays
turn, or
Radiant
I've got
Legions,
Triumph for the turn
I
after,
mean,
even
bet
if he
that
demos.
Diesel won't be able to
But what I
Eclipse Fate
shouldn't have
back.
done, never should have done, is max charged here.
And
Never
Also
should have
being
max
very
charged.
patient with his Triumph. I'm noticing. I mean, a lot of players, they just play it as soon as they can. He's holding on to it. He's got it in his hand. He's not in any rush. Even though Brand could pull out a treacherous scheming at some point, but that is a
So I've just
tempo,
banked. I've got 5 clones
expensive
in my
play
bank.
tempo-wise, so he's probably
Here, I should have,
figuring that
Yeah.
Diesel has time to
I
step
should have
hard right
charged 2, maybe
this is
3.
for sure gonna be a Trusty
I
Build
didn't. I was a
Eclipse
wally,
Fate.
and I this nearly and
Play
probably could have lost me the
for
game if he had
Jisoo.
demo here.
Effectively
Diesel's
dealing with
getting
an
into a good
insane
spot, I feel
board.
like.
Because
It's an insane board.
if I had only charged 2 or 3 here, I was still threatening lethal next turn. So there was no reason for me to do this. And then if he demos here, I can just Sippy next turn, and I can charge the remaining clones in my
And,
bank.
he's
I
getting
shouldn't
into
have
a
max
place where he's
charged here.
going
It's a
to be
big,
able
big
to play
mistake.
Brand, and Diesel might not have an answer for it at that point.
Yeah, and you're also right there, Penzo, because I was thinking about Eclipse
Like,
Fate as well, and I
Diesel
don't know
can
why I did this, but I
get through
did.
this one Triumph.
But,
I mean,
for this
Diesel's
tourney, I
gonna
was
draw more cards
functioning on
but
about
as of
4
right
hours
now,
sleep, and I'd just done a whole day's work,
if
so
Diesel
I
can
was
survive the Triumph,
I was amazed I did as well as I
Diesel
did,
has
to be honest,
some
because I was really struggling that
potential
day.
to stabilize from there.
Because like Penzo just said in chat,
Yeah.
we can see he's got Eclipse Fate in his hand,
That
and
Corrupted Vision
doing this
in any
would be
case,
insane. If he had a
needs to
Singularity
want
Steward here and he
the
Eclipse Fate, he's going to
destruction
buff his
to
Singularity
disappear.
Steward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If I'd only charged 2 or 3, it would have felt way
And
worse
see
for him
some
to
Scene
Eclipse Fate
Allies,
it.
No Demok here for Jisoo.
No Demo.
So it was a
It's
big
so nice to
mistake
draw
on my
Demo.
part.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have max charged.
definitely the Eclipse Fate will be necessary in this.
But this is why it's
situation.
good to go back through your games, guys, and see where you went wrong, because it was a big blunder.
I mean, playing against the wall here, this is the issue. Like, he was setting up that stabilized shard for a possible Demok, would have been able, and that's why.
See,
that's
and there
exactly why
comes
Diesel
the
was and is conservative.
This
with
comes to the
his
Eclipse Fate, and
triumph,
imagine if I only
because
done...
knows
He would have been
that
forced to
his
Eclipse Fate that
triumph
turn
will
anyway.
do the job if there's a
So
diesel
if I only
play,
had 2 or 3, it
and
would have
just
felt
keep
way worse for him to do.
summoning units. Radiant Legion is a card that did the job also for him without having to commit too much.
But bear in mind, I've
Pockets
played
are
this
very
entire
high,
game
and
without a
there's
single
only
relic
2
so
on each
far.
one, so they're easy to trade into.
Which actually worked out in my
Here
favour
we
because
could
he's
see
forced
the
to use
possible
all of his
second
relic removal
Drussian
early
from the
on
bank
other stuff.
of Diesel if he gets like a 2 or 1 cost unit, and then this will be lethal, I think, for Diesel.
No 2-drop, so you can't get to the Drusian, you can't get his mana to be exactly 5, which is what he would need to do at Tabula.
So this was quite awkward here because I would have loved to play I would have loved to play Subjugate and
then yeah, like you said, holding on to Triumph.
you're not getting matched with anyone, Glazy.
He always needs a way to refill. Never mind. Now he knows that if Jizo had Demo, he would have played it last turn. So now he's thinking maybe he wants to slam it down. The gamble is if Jizo draws a Demo before the next turn, he'll just answer it with Demo. So this is the risk.
So I could have gone 4-3 here, yeah, on 7 mana. But if I had done that, I would have been forced to bank the Tabula, which I don't want to do. Because I've got an X-Rater in my bank. I've got like quite a lot of good units in here. Like, I don't want to be banking this. So now is my Triumph turn.
But it's a calculated risk. And it's not the greatest waste, honestly.
So here, Penza, where do you go? I think it's better going wide here, right? Because I can start contesting the board better. So I go 2+1/+1, which I think is the right call. The other option is I could have gone 1 into 4, but I would have been left with just 1 more Adjundant, which would have only been buffed by this, but I know this dies next turn. So 2+1/+1 is correct here.
Standard Bearer, like the only clean one is Praetor, which Praetor and Bearer.
So +1/+1 then? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Just going the widest that he can. Although 4+1 would have been wide is equally wide, right? Either way, it's 3 units, but this one establishes a standard bearer, I suppose.
And then obviously from here, guys, it's very basic sippy things, but trade first, then bank. Yeah, so you get your buff token.
Bank the Tabula in this situation? I don't think so. Like he probably goes with a Praetor.
Penzo is going to wake up in his sleep with a headache or something anytime someone banks a Tabula. Yeah, I mean, it's tempting because both those other cards, 7 mana.
I have to make this really ugly trade here, really nice. And I have to bump my 5/2 into the 10/2.
Not only that, but can give him also a Drussian if he
could have been an argument to send the 5/2 face, but I think keeping that standard bearer safe was way more important because you know he's going to kill the X-Rater with his agent, right? So I had to make that trade, the 5/2 into the 10/2.
Well, he just went out.
Right. So this is quite important as well, right? The castle's surprised that I just went all in here and played this. But if you look at my mana, next turn I'm going to be on an 8 mana. So my play next turn is going to be Subjugate and this. Yeah. But because he didn't demo last turn, which was what I was assuming he was going to do, right? Because he played Shard, it took him to 8. I was 100% expecting a demo here. He didn't. So I knew I was safe to go wide now because he didn't play his demo last turn, which is when he should have played it if he was going to. So now I just want to go all in. Like he's on 16 HP, he's got 2 units on board, he can't deal with it. I wanted to just go wide here, and I set up I set up 2 standard bears which you can't deal with and bust everything the following turn.
He's going for it. He's all in.
So I don't know if you agree with that, Penzo, but I think that's correct. You want to just go really wide here, set up 2 standard bearers and threaten lethal next turn.
Jizo is fighting for his tournament life against 6 big boys on the board, and he does not have a demo. He only has a treacherous.
He would have demoed last turn if he
and a triumph. It's not exactly what he needs. I will be impressed if Jizo can.
Because he banked 1 and he was setting up for it last turn with the relic. Like I was pretty sure he didn't have demo in hand. Yeah, of course he could top deck it. Yeah.
That he could possibly do against this
board.
But
I'm on a clock now, right? Like the later this goes, I'm probably gonna be struggling.
He can still hold, right? With Honored Steward, he doesn't take lethal quite yet. He's alive for a few more turns, I think. Oh, he's going Brand.
Yeah.
So 4, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. We can see Diesel's hands. We know he doesn't have a lethal enabler yet. Going for that Brand and a Steward, and Jizo also has a
So
trusty
Jizo
bonus,
plays
and
Brand this
I
turn,
don't know, Kinto.
which I think's
think he might
wrong.
have been calling it a little early. I feel like there's still some counterplay looking pretty good here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's what it's what I was talking about here. The Davila would have done the job. It was too difficult.
Right. This was another. I really didn't play this game very well, right? So this was a bit of a blunder on my end. So we know that Sippy's got the Radiant Legion musters, okay? So what I did was I played Relic here, then I played Sippy, then I played my 1-drop. I banked the subjugate, played the 1-drop, but what I should have done was played Relic, banked the subjugate, played a 1-drop, and then play Sippy, because it would have given me one more unit to charge off the clones.
He missed it, didn't, if he did what you said, he
and this nearly punished me as well.
Yeah, because if there was no Demok, there were no actual answers to deal with the whole board. So a Russian would have done the job, and that was it.
He'd have one less unit on the board. We don't want to get bogged down in the math. It'd be interesting to review that, though. Yeah, definitely that could have been an opportunity for Diesel to close it out instead.
Yeah, this was a blunder on my end, because I played Relic, then I played Sippy, and I shouldn't have. I should have banked the subjugate, played the 1-drop, then Sippy, because it would have given me one more unit on board, which would have given me lethal next turn. But you'll see in a minute, I nearly get punished for it.
Yeah, 10 damage here with the
Relic.
So at this point with Brand on board, like, you just send everything face. You don't bother trading here ever. I mean, you just send it all face.
Does he want to go face here? Or man, like, how does, if you're Diesel, do you just start jamming face, or are you trying to manage the board?
I mean, it's still the same situation. Like, Diesel
also,
the game of just
if he does top deck a demo here, me doing this isn't bad, because if he demos, I get a unit back potentially, unless he trades it, and Brand dies, which is great for me. I want Brand to die.
Yeah,
so I just need to go all in here.
Piling up the board, but this is his last bit of resources. He's going all in.
His entire tournament on Jizo not ever.
So now it just goes face everything.
And so far it's working.
Yeah. He went all in against Jizo not having the Demok. But definitely that Russian would have closed it out if there was no Demok. And we get a recruiter.
Also, I knew I was safe to do this as well, because I have 3 recruiters left in my deck. So I was almost certain I could just refill the board even if he demoed here. Like, I have 3 recruiters. I was going to draw one eventually with 17 cards left in deck.
So here's a
I've got 2 triumphs, 3 recruiters.
This will mean 2 units gone, an erasure, and that triumph will bring him probably an honor steward and makes it so like 5 units possibly that he will be.
This was actually an insane turn by Jizo, by the way.
Yeah, he can't defend enough. Now Diesel is guaranteed.
He actually stopped my lethal next turn.
Yeah, he like no Demok. He knew in that turn that there was no Demok, so he went all in against the possible high roll. He knew that, okay, if there's a high roll, I'm cooked, but if there isn't, I'm good.
Like Jizo played really well this series. I think Diesel definitely had the advantage in terms of RNG. Just like he played his 2 aggro decks and he got 2 really good draws. The one bad draw, they had to reset the match, unfortunately. So like,
yeah, watch this unfold, because I was amazed that he managed to clear this entire board pretty much.
Great mental game and great ability to stay locked in some tough spots. He's been really fighting his heart out this whole series. So if it looks like it's about to be a Diesel first place, Jizo second, it's still really well played by Jizo.
Is there an out here for Jizo actually?
I don't.
Bear in mind as well, me putting him on 6 HP last turn pretty much gives me lethal, yeah? Recruiter Domina. So no matter what way, I was going to kill him next turn. I'm almost certain to hit Domino off for this recruiter, or at least another recruiter to get Domino.
With a deer that actually will save him, like, it's too much. here.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you can get like a PSC.
I also have 2
and, like,
relics
clear
left in
out
deck.
one of the standard bearers. I don't know. Like if he hits one with a deer on, then he PS8s after. I don't know. Sabo. Puma points out from chat that would be maybe not quite enough, but that's the closest thing I can think of. Yeah. If he had a Sabo, take all the attacks down by 1, they can clear some more. That might have kept him at least alive for.
So this Adira could have screwed me in so many ways. If Adira hits Domina here,
He's hanging on
I'd
to
probably
life
lose the game, by the
here.
way.
This is. I mean, Lambie talks about this.
He's
Right?
still
Like,
got a good hit
your
anyway.
house,
Ooh, the
this is an
Magna,
example.
actually. The Magna
He hits
actually
Magna,
is an
which
answer
clears the
to this.
unit.
Possibly the only answer he could have gotten.
He pulled the Magna, bruh. I didn't even think about that. Chat didn't
pulled
think about that either.
And pulled another Trusty Belt that will help him deal with 2 units here with the Honor Steward.
Oh my god. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so he had Trusty Belt on Grand. He's got another
the Trusty Belt came back to.
Right. Okay, you can sacrifice a unit on the belt.
Oh
That's
my
So
just
yeah,
God.
somehow, some way, he managed to
Glad to see
prevent
this
my
Honor Steward has
lethal
it
on board
stored
this turn,
here.
which was
Did
kind
he
of
actually
crazy.
kill this Honor Steward?
I didn't think he could.
Good question. I forget what it stole. I forget. If there was a token on the board, he might have taken a token. It could
He's
be
going
free, I
for
don't
the
remember.
Erasure and the Honor Steward onto the 3/4 unit.
Oh my god.
And Jisoo is still alive.
So now I don't have
Holy
lethal on board.
How did he do
But
it?
I can easily just top deck
No
a Domina
way.
here.
Let's
But you'll
see.
see I just draw Relic
That
and win.
turn needs to be studied.
Oh,
in
the high
classroom.
roll again
Lethal.
for Diesel with the Relic.
It's not bad.
Right guys, well I hope you enjoyed that. There's a couple of things I really want you to take note of, okay, from this video. Firstly, record your matches and watch them back. Watch them back over and over and over again, because I've watched these ones back probably a good 10 times now, and I'm still learning things which I should have done differently. Whether that been mulliganing differently, my banking decisions, maybe how I traded units on the board. So watch them back over and over again. If you've got people you can ask, feel free to DM me on Discord, send me a video of like tricky spots or pictures of tricky spots you're struggling with, and I'm more than happy to help you. And then secondly, what I'd like to call smell blood in the water, okay? So in these games, the only reason I won them was purely because I knew when to transition from controlling the board to then pushing face damage and looking for lethal outs, okay? So in the Cathy one, I knew I started losing board as soon as I had to play that Cathy, and he had the potential triumph and he had the relic down. I knew I had to start pushing face damage then and looking for lethal outs from triumphs or just top decks, okay? So in that matchup in particular, I knew I had to get him down to 8 or 7 HP ideally, because I had one more Determined Assault in the deck, and I had another, I think I had 2 expertise as well, so I was running quite a lot of burn. So I just knew if I got him down to about 8 HP, if I drew one more triumph, I knew I was probably going to find my lethal outs from there, okay? And then in the brand one, it was playing around the demolecularize. So you see me checking his bank a lot because I wanted to keep an eye on how many he was actually banking, and we seen straight away that he had banked 1 demo. That already gave me a lot of information. So I played the rest of that game just slowly building up a board, and there's a one turn where he played the Shard, okay, and it gave him 8 mana the following turn, and that was when he didn't play that demo. Then that's when I smelt blood in the water, and I knew he couldn't deal with a big board. So I went all in and I started pushing face damage. I know I got quite lucky with a top deck lethal of Relic there, but that's what is playing to your outs, okay? So I had that as a lethal. I also had 3 recruiters left in deck, so I had a Domina potential out as well off of a recruiter to give me lethal. So yeah, smell blood in the water, guys, and know when to transition into pushing face damage and trying to end the game. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. If you spot anywhere in the videos where you think I could have played it differently, drop me a comment down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.